The decision by the Albanese government to drop Australia's recognition of West Jerusalem as the capital of Israel is a debacle, with the Israeli Prime Minister calling into question Australia's treatment of a close ally. Sharren Haskel is a member of the Knesset, the Israeli parliament, who, in response to Albanese government's changed status of the capital of Israel, tweeted this. She said, "It's interesting to see that the most important thing for the Australian Labor Party was to tell the Jewish people that the 3,000-year-old tradition of Jerusalem as their cultural, religious and traditional centre, the heart of their identity, their capital, is not theirs." Sharren Haskel joins me now from Israel. Sharren, I appreciate your time. If you think this is big news over there, it's hugely significant in Australia. A lot of Australians are concerned with this decision. It's been a big backtrack by the Albanese government. What do you think about it?
Well, this announcement is a slap in the face for Israelis. To be honest, it doesn't matter what anyone tells us. Jerusalem has always been our cultural, traditional, our religious center. It's part of our identity and will forever be the center and the capital of our country and part of our hearts. But from an ally like Australia, where we have such strong bonds and bridges, and we've been cooperating so much, where we share so much of the same values and moral compass, values of democracy and freedom and equality and women's rights and minority rights, which is not taken for granted here in the Middle East region. Israel is this beacon of light. This is extremely disappointing. But Peta, more disappointing was that this announcement come at a Jewish high holiday where we celebrate Jerusalem. This is the Feast of Tabernacle, where Jews and nations from all around the world come to Jerusalem to celebrate Jerusalem. And this is the announcement that we received from an ally that we considered extremely close.
Yeah, there's no doubt the Department of Foreign Affairs would have been aware of that holiday. It meant in Australia, when the news hit, Sharren, members of the Jewish community weren't able to respond in the media. Do you think that was deliberate? Do you think this was part of the intention of the Foreign Minister, Penny Wong? I mean, you've been quite strong in your criticism of the Foreign Minister.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if it was intentionally, but it seems like they need to pick up their game, and I hope they don't operate in that manner and that way on other fields as well, because that was extremely hurtful.
It's interesting, when the Trump government in the United States made the decision to recognise West Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, long held by presidents of both persuasions, but he also went further and said, we'll move the embassy as well, actually make it happen. It's interesting, Joe Biden, the Democrat president, didn't reverse that decision. But in Australia, there's been a change of political party running the country, and there now has been a change or reversal of this position. Do you think this has been an internal stoush inside the Australian Labor Party? I don't know how closely you watch things, but is that what it is?
Well, the U.S. announcement was much more far-reaching. It doesn't just speak about West Jerusalem, but the entire of Jerusalem, and not just recognizing it, but also moving the embassy and its core work into Jerusalem. This is similar to Guatemala and Honduras and many more countries who are operating in Jerusalem. So it's important to understand that this is not just speaking about West Jerusalem. Now, having that shift of power in the U.S., there's always been sort of a stand with Israel, standing by a moral compass, understanding that Israel is the beacon of light and democracy in the region. We are the only stable country who give full right for women, for minority, freedom of religion, and so many more values that we share. And that fact is what keeps our bond so strong. The Democrats in the United States understand that. Unfortunately, it seems like the Labor government in Australia, I think they must be more inclined to please some of their extreme voters from the far left side than actually standing by that moral compass and those shared values of both countries.
Hey, just before we go, Sharren, a week ago you cut your hair off at a conference in Jerusalem. Explain why.
That was a conference with religious leaders and parliament members and ministers in order to raise awareness of the demonstrations that are happening now in Iran. Women and children are fighting for their freedom in Iran. These are demonstrations that never happened before. And so it was so important for me to raise awareness so that other countries will go and support these women and children. They have been murdered in the street, more than 200 women and children. And it is so important that that message would pass to the crowd that was there, parliamentarian, ministers, religious leaders, to take that home with them, to pressure government to go and stand by the Iranian people and help them achieve freedom. And it's very sad that this government and the Foreign Ministry of Australia is not putting that as a first step in a new government, and instead of that is continuing to speak in a double standard, pushing Israel aside and taking the side of the Palestinian in our conflict and in our argument.
Beautifully said, Sharren Haskel. Thank you for joining me live from Israel.
Thank you so much, Peta.